ilovedreamingpeach.com.
Hump day. It is September 24th, 9 a.m. Hi, Sweet Peaches. I'm just popping in to say auto-generated captions might have typos, mofo. I know that Wendy's name is spelled Wendi because she lies. Wendy with an I because she lies. But you know what? I don't have the time and I don't give a fuck enough about her to fix the name spelling in the captions. So it's going to be spelled like regular Wendy because fuck that bitch. Then also another fuck that bitch is Karen Reed. I know that it's Karen Reed, R-E-A-D, Reed. However, again, I don't give a fuck and I'm not going to sit here and go through the captions and try to edit it. So just so you know, these are my thoughts. There are going to be some typos probably in the auto-generated captions. And that's that. Enjoy the video. Hello, my sweet peaches. I'm going to turn on my lights. Turn on that. Let's go over here and turn on my on-air sign. Lower it down. How are you guys? This is going to be a quick video. I just wanted to share my thoughts. Some more thoughts about Mentor Lawyer's video. Last night, he put out a video defending Detective Isom, the interviews that he did with Detective Isom. And he had an AI voice, which was annoying, instead of his own voice. And the whole video, let me fix my bed. He was complaining about people who had complaints about Detective Isom's way of handling the case. So I will say, first and foremost, the praise that Isom deserves. I do believe it was a good thing they got her quickly that day. It was a good thing that he kept her there for all those hours. It was excellent that he was able to keep her there for all those hours. And I think a lot of evidence came out in that interview. I do think that's true. However, I think that he missed a lot of the evidence. I believe from the interviews that he's done and the way things have gone and the things that he said, that he truly was duped by her. I think that he never thought of her as a suspect, which is bizarre because she's literally the ex-wife of the murdered victim. And he never followed up with any meaningful way. He claimed that he called her like the Monday or Tuesday after Dan had died, and that she was supposedly in the car heading down. She's like, I'm in the car with my family heading down to South Miami. I can't hear you. Click. Then the next contact is like, you have to speak to my lawyer. He says that he told the lawyer, when the lawyer asked, is she a suspect? Let me fix this a little. Is she a suspect? And he says, it's looking that way. But then he never follows up with the lawyer again, at least not that he mentions in the interview. And it doesn't seem as if he followed up. She moved to Miami within 2 days of this man dying. She was completely ready to go. Apartment packed, everything gone. Kids registered in school, new condo down at the Continuum. All of these things, she'd already had her. So I realized that they didn't have the evidence immediately. However, a lot of pieces of evidence came out, and I believe that there was a lot of pieces of evidence that was slipped through the fingers because of the lack of follow-up. And here, you know, I didn't expect him to get on there and be like, that bitch is guilty. We're going to arrest her tomorrow. Some people have mentioned in the comments that they feel that that interview could potentially be some kind of evidence that the defense can use against Wendy if and when she's ever arrested, and that some of the things that Detective Isom said in the interview sound like talking defense points for in Wendy's favor. There was this one comment that was very critiquing feedback on Mentor Lawyer's video or videos. One thing she complained about was that he has his logo like huge and it's in the middle, and then, you know, he has like all these watermarks of his name. Well, I know that he does that because a lot of people do screen record and basically steal his content. In the past, I've used his content. However, I made sure to link the video that I used and link his channel, and to mention it in the video that this is Mentor Lawyer's content. I do think that he had said, don't use, like, please do not screen record these interviews and use them in your content. I haven't done that. I'm not showing any of his videos of Detective Isom in this. And I have previously used Wendy Adelson's police interviews, which I got off of his channel. If you go back and you watch some of my older videos, you'll see his Mentor Lawyer watermark. So I understand about the watermark. I don't mind that because, you know, it's his content. He can do that if he wants to. But then there were other suggestions which I agreed with, which was why was it was so bizarre to me how Mentor Lawyer was not on screen. It's like you're interviewing someone, but you just have the guy off center, like looking off, and like all this dead space behind him, kept moving the microphone back and forth. You kept seeing his hand coming in. At some point, even stood up and went back there, and it just looked just very amateur. I'm amateur. My shit looks amateur. It is amateur. I'm an amateur. I don't have as anywhere near as many viewers. And you know what? He can be amateur. It doesn't matter. But I did wonder, like, it seems to me he doesn't like his voice, which is why he uses AI, even though his voice is perfectly fine. And actually, it's a nice voice. He's a nice voice. And he speaks clearly and fine. So it seems like there's some kind of insecurity about his own voice, and maybe he's insecure about being on camera, even though he's been on camera plenty of times. So did he choose not to be on camera for the interviews because he didn't want to be on camera? Because it certainly wasn't for aesthetic purposes. There was also like the way he put out the videos. It seemed kind of choppy, and I saw some complaints about, like, well, what order is it? And then he said it's in the thumbnail, but why not just put it in the title? I don't know. So there was that. And, so those are just like critiques, complaints about it's like an amateur production. Again, I'm amateur. My shit's amateur. So I'm not complaining. I'm just saying I do agree that I feel like it would have been a lot more effective of an interview if we could have seen the interviewer as well as the interviewee and hear James ask the questions. And it just, to me, it would have flowed much better, and it just came across kind of choppy. But the real issues that I had, again, I've said in a comment on his channel, I think that Detective Isom, to me, he comes across as a very sweet, kind, good-hearted fella, like a nice person. He seems to be, honest. But it also seemed as if he just, like I said, it seemed like he was checked out. He wasn't that, I realized that there was a lot of detail going into the investigation, and that he did do a lot of work, and, you know, it was a lot of effort to find the Prius and to narrow that down, and they did a lot of investigation on that, and he certainly was able to get a lot of information out of her. As I said, in that long 6-hour interview, she implicated her brother almost instantaneously, her mother, her father. There was a comment that somebody had said, like, why are you praising how Isom did this interview when he completely lost control of the interview? He had Jane McPherson up in there making jokes and shit. And then I do remember Jeffrey Lacasse had mentioned, like, the third time he came back, like, oh, so Jane was in the interview room, and Isom was like, no, she wasn't. And he's like, well, somebody was in there, and it was Jane. And it's like, does detective, and then he even said, like, oh, well, you know, there was somebody in here, I don't know who. So it just seems like he missed a lot. And as somebody else pointed out, he was in and out of that room. And why did they only have one detective in the room with her? And they left her alone for a long time, which is fine. You know, it's a tactic, as well as sometimes it's just the logistics of doing a lot of shit. But I just, you know, it really does bother me that he told her, like, he didn't actually tell her that Dan was dead right away. She jumped on that, like, oh my God, you know, but he did quickly tell her that he doesn't think that he's going to make it. And I don't know, there was just so many things that I thought, that's a red flag, that's a red flag. Oh, that's a lie. Oh, that's something he should check. Oh, that's suspicious. That's suspicious. That's suspicious. And I don't know, I just didn't get the sense that his kind nature and his, oh, you're not a suspect and all this stuff, it seemed like it could have maybe been a tactic to get her to speak, to get her to feel comfortable, to get her to say more. But all these years later, the fact that he still seems to be in a fog about what happened, unclear about some of the details, and making excuses for her behavior, and making excuses for his lack of follow-up. And again, it's not to say he did an absolutely terrible job. He did a decent job. There were 5 convictions so far. We got the shooter, Sigfredo Garcia, the driver of the shooter, Luis Rivera. We got Katie Magbanawa, who was the middlewoman between Charlie Adelson, Wendy's brother, and the shooter. And then we got Donna Adelson, the mom, and Harvey and Wendy should be up next. Again, I don't know why I feel like Harvey, I know from the things that I've heard that he knew about it and that he was involved and that he helped pay for it and all this stuff. And I'm not saying I don't care if he goes to prison. I'm just like, if he were to get arrested and not Wendy, like, oh my God, I would be so fucking pissed. But if Wendy doesn't get arrested at all, I mean, the injustice is just so despicable. But you know what? We live in a world of injustice. For example, I'm going to talk about Karen Reed for a minute. She was found not guilty in a court of law. And so people say, well, it's a fact she didn't do it. But that's not accurate. It's a fact that she was found not guilty in a court of law. That's a fact. But that doesn't mean she didn't do it. It means that the jury did not convict her. It means that they didn't believe there was enough evidence beyond a reasonable doubt to convict her. It does not mean that she didn't do it, okay? Just like O.J. Simpson was found not guilty, and that didn't mean that he didn't do it. It just meant that the jury found that he was not guilty, or there wasn't enough evidence, or they didn't feel convinced, or sometimes, which I believe is what happened with the Karen Reed case, it's not actually about the evidence. It's about a story. It's about, oh, we love this person, or we don't want this person to be held accountable, or we can't fathom that this person did the thing. Like with Casey Anthony. It doesn't mean because Casey Anthony is walking free, it doesn't mean that for a fact she didn't kill her daughter. What it means is that for a fact, a jury did not find her guilty. And that's the fact. So my feelings about Karen Read, again, I know I'm in the minority, like 20% of people. I was on a live stream yesterday. They were talking about it, and it was a pro Karen Read channel, and the comments were all pro Karen Read. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to say my fucking piece. And I made a comment like, well, I think it's a, you know, it's an injustice that there was never justice for John O'Keefe, and I believe that she did it even though she wasn't found guilty. And oh, did I get attacked? Of course. Wrong chat. Well, we think she was, you know, she was factually found. And I'm like, you know what? I can say what I want to say. Like, just because you disagree with me doesn't mean that I can't say what I want to say. And I said my piece and I bounced because I wasn't there to have arguments with people, but I just feel like somebody somewhere needs to be willing to say justice for John O'Keefe, please. And all the people who believe that, oh, poor Karen Read, you know, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe the horrible family is going after her and blah, 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 blah. Well, again, just like O.J. Simpson was found legally liable in a civil case for the wrongful death of Nicole Brown Simpson and her friend Ronald Goldman were found to death at her condominium on the night of June 12, 1994. And so the fact is that Karen Read paid for an astroturfing campaign to target the family, to make them the bad guys, to go after them, to go after the cops, to go after all the witnesses. And they were highly successful. And many people are convinced of her innocence and the guilt of the fucking victims. And it makes me so pissed. However, I have to move on and carry on, and I have work to do and children to raise and all that stuff. So that's how I feel about that. Now, when it comes back to Wendi, I think that there's going to be, if she ever gets arrested, which I'm beginning to doubt more and more each day, there will be, you know, there'll probably be people, Wendi sycophants, who believe she's innocent, who, you know, like there was this one comment like, well, I think that she knew what was going on, but like, you know, she insulated herself, and so she knew it was happening, but, you know, she didn't really know about all the details. Although, who the fuck gave Dan's license plate to the killers? Who gave him his home address? Who gave him his schedule? Who told him every detail of where he was going to be that day, which she knew. She was the only person who could have known that level of detail. Again, follow the money. Who benefited the most? Who had the most to gain? Whose entire life was turned upside down in a good way because he was killed? And whose life would have been turned upside down in the worst way if he had continued to live? Wendi, Wendi, Wendi. Another complaint I had about Mentor Lawyer's shit show, his last video, was that at the end of it, he starts to go off on Stephen Webster, Dan's divorce attorney, making these baseless accusations that Stephen Webster's doing the wrong thing, that Stephen Webster is grifting by it's like, you have the fucking lead detective doing interviews, making bullshit excuses about how he dropped the ball, why he dropped the ball, why he didn't follow up, why he didn't do this, why he let Wendi go, why he didn't pursue various things. That's Mentor Lawyer's video that he's putting out. And then while he's making a video to defend against all the criticisms that many intelligent people came forth with about Detective Isom, some were really harsh, some were very kind, some were in the middle, like mine. I'm like, he seems like a super sweet guy. He seems like a really nice, lovely, adorable, kind-hearted man who also dropped the ball, who let Wendi slip through his fingers, who believed in her bullshit and her lies, who got duped. So both things can be true. I don't think that he, I have said in my previous video, maybe he was on the take, maybe he was influenced, maybe this, maybe that. But what I really think is that he was just at the end of his career. It was a perfect example of when Jeffrey Lacasse was talking to him in the interview, and Jeffrey was talking quickly, and he was talking about how Charlie was telling him about these sex tourism trips, and he would go to South America and he would get underage prostitutes, blah, 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 blah. And Isom was like, whoa, 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 slow down, you're talking a little fast for me. Which was funny and charming. However, I think it also is a clue into the fact that a lot of those clues fucking went over his head. He didn't hear it. He didn't get it. He didn't go back and watch the tape. He didn't have somebody else there with him. It's like, this was a murder for hire, an innocent man, a father of 2 young children, a lawyer, a professor, an innocent person just trying to live his life. And then you have Wendi, who, according to Dan, and according to fucking trial testimony, the way Wendi dropped the bomb on him that she was leaving him was when he was literally minutes away from getting on the stage to do a talk in front of a bunch of people, and she drops the bomb, I'm leaving you. He supposedly frantically leaves, doesn't even do his talk, hops on a plane, rushes home, and finds a fucking empty house, except for the fucking marital bed with divorce papers on it. He said she took all the children's furniture, all the children's clothing. She took belongings that were his before the marriage. She emptied out a $500,000 bank account. She took other things. She was committing fraud by moving other money and funds and hiding assets and lying about her assets. And then, so she's the one stealing from him. She took the Holocaust heirloom family ring. I mean, and then she's trying to get him to pay her money. She's claiming, you owe me money. And he's like, no, bitch, you stole from me and you've been committing fraud. And supposedly she took the children out of the home and moved to that Aqua Ridge place. And he didn't even know where she was with the children for almost 3 weeks. But yet mentor lawyer with his AI voice gets on a video saying that Stephen Webster's in the wrong for getting on an interview and talking about this stuff. Stephen Webster shouldn't be saying that stuff. And then he had the audacity to claim that Stephen Webster saying that Dan wanted to go after Wendi for the fraud that she was committing against him, that somehow puts Dan in a bad light? What are you talking about? That makes no sense. And then he went even further to say, Dan should have, that's the mother of it. That was his wife and the mother of his children. He shouldn't have gone after her. He should have just let it go. What? First of all, that wasn't his wife. That was his ex-wife. And just because somebody's the mother of your children doesn't mean that you just let them commit fraud on you and steal from you. What are you talking about, James? I'm like, I got half of mine to unfollow this guy. I'm like, what are you saying? What you're saying is that you are in fucking Wendi's pocket. That's what it sounds like. What you're saying is that it sounds like Detective Isom got in your ear and convinced you of some bullshit story, because what the fuck? His video made it sound like Dan was an asshole and a bad guy because he wanted to take Wendi to court because she was stealing and committing fraud and doing all this stuff. Parental alienation and having the kids being told bad stuff about him. Again, I'm going to mention Charles Vallow. It's like the people who thought Charles Vallow was the bad guy. He's saying bad things. He's off the rails. He's what's wrong with him? What's wrong with him? He was being harassed by somebody who fucking murdered him. Same with Dan. How can you get on a fucking video saying that Dan looks like a bad guy for trying to go after Wendi in a court of law for the fucking fraud that she was committing against him and his children. And then she had him murdered. And you want to say he was bad. He was the wrong one. That is some bull fucking shit, man. I can't get over it. It's just, that's some bullshit. Again, did Detective Isom do a decent job? Sure. I give you a 5, I'll give you a 6 or 7, but you didn't do a fantastic job, and you did not follow through with Wendi in any legitimate way. And, you know, is he going to get up on a video and say, I was influenced by Willie Meggs not to pursue her? I was told by my bosses that we're not going down that path. Whatever. No, he's not going to say that, is he? So on one hand, you know, there was a couple of people who left comments saying like, I really wish you hadn't done this. This might cause some issues going forward. And now you maybe have just given some fodder to the defense if and when this bitch is ever arrested. And, you know, I don't know if that's true. I don't know exactly, you know, but I do know that YouTube videos can be played at a trial, and they can certainly put that up. And if they do arrest her, they could certainly put a video and play a video to him, to Detective Isom on the stand and say, did you not say this? Did you not claim that you don't think that there's enough evidence against her? Did you not say you don't think she did? You know, and use his own words against her. Use his own words in her favor, I mean, to show a jury and try to stir up reasonable doubt. And that's, I do see that as a possibility, that these videos could potentially be used by a defense attorney who wants to claim that she's innocent and try to say, look, even the lead detective 11 years later still doesn't think she's guilty. The lead detective. So why should you think she's guilty? Well, I think she's guilty because the circumstantial evidence is stacked up to the point where I think that it's delusional to think she's not guilty and involved. I think it's white privilege or pretty privilege. I don't think she's really pretty, to be honest. I really don't think she's pretty. But again, it's like kind of like the Amber Heard effect. I used to think Amber Heard was beautiful, but now if I look at her face, it makes me want to vomit because the evil, the pure evil that emanates, the off-gassing of evil just makes everything look ugly. And that's how I feel about Wendi Adelson. I think she's a hideous monster. The reality is that she's a reasonably attractive person, but her personality, her lack of character, her narcissistic and personality disorder or whatever, all of it just emanates out, and I just find her to be an actual monster. And I can't imagine her as anything but a murderer. And it's a fucking shame. And I just hate to see somebody get away with murder. But as that is, it is now 9:29 and I have got to do some work. So I'm going to try to see if I can quickly post this video. And these are my thoughts. And I'm still hoping that Wendi will get arrested. I'm hoping that Georgia Kappelman and whoever, if it's going to be Sarah Catherine Dugan, Jack Campbell, whatever other prosecutor might get involved, whatever other witnesses, whatever other evidence that hasn't come out yet, I hope that all of these things will add up and stack up and that Wendi will be arrested and convicted. And there was another couple of comments of people saying like, defending Isom and saying, oh, he's not going to tell how he really feels, and he's going to save it for trial, and after trial you'll find out what he really thinks, and this is just, if that's the case, why say this stuff? Why I don't know. I'm mixed about it because I feel like his interviews are, even in the most neutral way of looking at his interviews, it just does not seem to be helpful in the path of getting Wendy arrested. It doesn't seem to be helpful along that path. So it does make me wonder, if you're not trying to help the case, if you're not trying to help get Wendy arrested, what are you doing? Are you, like, it really came across, I even said in my comment, like, what is the purpose of this video? I mean, I don't think I said it exactly that way, but it's like, you're trying to make Dan look like the bad guy, and you're trying to make Wendy look like the good guy? What the fuck? I'm confused and disgusted, and I gotta go to work, and we out. Let me jump back in for one last second and say, please don't forget to hit like, hit share, hit subscribe, hit the bell notification so you never miss my new videos, and please leave a comment, ask a question, drop your thoughts, drop an emoji. I love the unicorn emoji, I love the rainbow emoji, I love weather emojis, and whatever emoji is your favorite. Of course, there's the peach. Of course, there's the peach and the lotus and whatever else you want. Leave a comment, and I'll see you later. And now, we out. CatLoveDreamingPeach.com. Join me on my website, CatLoveDreamingPeach.com. Join me on Patreon and YouTube by the same name. See you.